Hey, y'all. Hey, happy Monday. Welcome back to Drama While I Design Live with Toya Creates. I am just making sure we have audio before we keep going because yesterday this microphone was not working in my favor. But it sounds like we are good to go today. So, once again, welcome to Drama While I Design Live with Toya Creates. Today is Monday, August 24th, and we are going to get in today's episode of Beyond the Gates. And I'm going to refer to my handy dandy little notes. So, let's get into it. So we open up where we left off, I believe, on Friday. Haley is thinking that Dani and Andre don't have the marriage that Dani makes it out to be because Dani is always sniffing around Bill. And Haley accuses Dani of telling Chelsea and Naomi that Haley is cheating on Bill because she's like, I don't think they came up with that by themselves. Oh, hey, hi. Is it sensational? Hey, I'm doing my best to keep up with all, okay? All right. So, yes, Haley and Dani are just having their usual knockdown drag out there in Bill's office. And Haley is accusing Dani of being the one who put it in, Naomi and Chelsea's ear that Haley is cheating because they have seen her around town with Randy, a.k.a. Sammy. And so, Dani and Haley are just going back and forth per usual. Because Haley's like, if you are so happy in your marriage to Andre, then why are you so concerned about what I'm doing with my husband, Bill? So they keep going back and forth, and Naomi finally enters and she breaks up this exchange because they are getting loud per usual. And Haley wants Naomi to remind her mother that Haley is the new wife and that basically Dani needs to stay in her place. And then she, saunters out per usual. Yuck, I hate Haley. And so then Dani still thinks that Haley is very much up to something and they need to get her away from Bill. Okay. So then next we see Madison. She is checking up on Bill. Now remember, Madison was in Copenhagen when this latest emergency went down. And so Madison came home early because it's also the anniversary of when Chelsea was kidnapped. And so she wanted to be there for her boo. And so now she's checking up on her future father-in-law. And so it turns out Bill is stable enough to leave the hospital. And he is thrilled because he has been dying to get up out of there. And he and Madison have a cute little moment. He genuinely thanks her for the care that she has been giving to him and for looking out for Chelsea because this is a very difficult time for her. And Bill is actually excited about Madison becoming his daughter-in-law. So that was very nice. But Madison said it still bugs her that they have not been able to figure out the underlying issue. And Madison is basically vowing to determine what is going on. Because, Bill also doesn't know what's going on and that kind of bothers him. But in this moment, he is just ready to leave the hospital. So he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Okay. So then Madison also tells Bill that he needs to be sure to follow doctor's orders. And he says he will. Okay. Bill is hard-headed, but let's keep it moving. So then we see Chelsea and Kat. They are still at Uptown. This is where they left off on Friday. They basically redid the same scene that we saw on Friday with Chelsea receiving her second unknown call. This time, Kat takes the phone and she's like, hello, and I can hear you breathing and you're just not saying anything. And then the person hangs up. So at this point, Chelsea is all but convinced that Alison is behind this. Now, yes, if y'all were watching last year, that was one of the highlights of this show, I think, in my opinion. So Alison presented as this girl who was interested in having like a threesome or something because she said she was married and this and that. And so Chelsea went along with it because Chelsea was a little free bird last year. And then it took a turn. Turns out Alison was lying about the husband. She did all of this because she was obsessed with Chelsea. She ends up kidnapping her. She takes her to this rural cabin in Virginia. Don't do my home state like that, but whatever. Alison takes Chelsea to this cabin in Virginia. She locks her to the bed with handcuffs, and she basically forces Chelsea to marry her. And then she wanted to consummate the marriage. And when Chelsea refused, it turned into a little bit of fisticuffs with a knife. Blah, blah, blah. Alison gets detained finally, and she's been hauled off to a facility. And that is the last we've seen of Alison. But it is a year after the fact, and Chelsea is now convinced that Alison has somehow escaped, or at the very least has managed to get a phone, and she is the one calling and basically terrorizing Chelsea once again. She does not think this is a coincidence. Kat is doing a good job of trying to keep her bestie cousin calm, but you can see Kat's a little nervous as well. So then, in the next scene, we see Vernon and Anita. They're at home at the estate, and they are prepping for Naomi's upcoming birthday. Like she's a baby child. Hold on, let me turn this fan on. I'm hot. Like she's a baby. They are just planning her upcoming birthday and this and that. And they're chatting, and Vernon wonders why Naomi is filling in for Bill when there are other capable attorneys there. And he just basically is questioning if Bill has an ulterior motive in this regard, because everybody knows, hey, Phaedra Parks, everybody knows that Bill wants his daughter to take over the firm, like as his legacy. But Naomi is, let's say she has a little more morals than Bill, and she is content with her like civic duty that she's doing at her law firm. But Vernon is just thinking out loud, and he and Anita are just basically catching up. So then we go over to the precinct, and Marcel has his boxers in a bunch, okay? He is getting very snippy with Jacob. And Jacob is like, basically, you pissed in your cornflakes at me. Why you getting mad with me? And so Jacob assumes that Marcel is mad over his little boo, Leslie, okay? So they're talking about that a little bit. And then, of course, Leslie stops by, because last week, Marcel and Leslie were on this date after Eva basically told Leslie, you need to like stop chasing after Ted. That man don't want you, and please stop. And basically don't ignore what you have in front of you, which is Marcel. And so Marcel took her out on a little date, and he offered his Sheila to her. Now, Sheila is his retirement boat. It sounds like that's where this man lives, because I'm like, do you have a house anymore? But whatever. So Marcel invited Leslie to come live with him on Sheila the boat. And Leslie was like, thanks, no thanks. And so Marcel ends up huffing out, and that's where they left off last week. So Leslie has clearly had some time to reflect. We also saw last week, shout out to the 90s, we saw the flashbacks as to how Ted and Leslie actually met. And so it looks like Leslie has been doing some soul searching, and now she's at this precinct ready to make up with her Timu Shaft, as the people call him. So she's there, and she tells Jacob to basically stay out of grown people's business, go handle some parking tickets over there, and let me talk to my man. Marcel. But Marcel is Marcel, his little feelings are hurt. Okay, he put himself out there. He wanted her to come live on this little raggedy boat, and she was like, no. So Marcel is basically paying Leslie a little bit of dust. Now, she is still talking about the situation and blah, blah, blah. And she talks about how she has taken a blowtorch to the good thing that she and Marcel have going. So we'll get back to them a little later. So next we see Dani and Naomi back in Bill's office, and Dani just wants to talk to Naomi about her upcoming birthday because Anita and Vernon want to host them, and Naomi's down for that because she just wants to spend as much time as she can with the people she loves. Clearly she is, dealing with the fact that her dad's been sick and all of that. Naomi recently revealed that she is also a carrier of the BRCA gene, which is what Anita has as well, which led to her getting breast cancer. And so Naomi's been processing all of that. So then Naomi tells Dani the tea about Little Miss Homewrecker and Bill and what they were trying to do up in the hospital bed. And Dani is like, ugh, disgusting, okay? She was like, they were caught getting frisky in the hospital bed. And then Naomi talks about how Haley tried to get Ashley in trouble just for doing her job, because what kind of nurse would she have been if she would have allowed this nonsense to go on in the hospital? But I digress. So Naomi and Dani were like, if Haley tried, Naomi would represent Ashley. She would sue everybody. And Dani was like, I'll pay for her attorney fees. And they high five to that. The dynamic duo is ready to go to war for Ashley. And I love that for her because Ashley's been, she was a little pain in the you-know-what earlier, but she's a lot more regulated now with Grayson. And Ashley was not wrong for what she did. And whatever. I don't hate Ashley like other people do. So, next we go back to the hospital. We see Bill telling Haley that he's getting discharged and how Madison is determined to find out what is going on. So Haley's, doing her best Oscar performance per usual. Oh, I can't wait to get you home, Bill, and make up for lost time. And then they start kissing. And Ashley walks in and she was like, again? Like, how many times do we have to go through this? And Haley told Ashley to unclench. We are just kissing. Like, girl, nobody want to hear that from you. Y'all don't know how to act in the hospital, apparently. But whatever. They weren't doing anything this time, and they were just kissing. Fine. So then Ashley's like, well, great. Yes, you can be discharged today, Bill, and you can continue your extracurricular activities in the privacy of your own home because they are sick of it. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it as well. Bill and Haley, that's disgusting. But whatever. So then before Ashley leaves, Haley just takes it upon herself to throw some more digs at Ashley. And Bill is like, Haley, stop. But he didn't tell her to, shut up. Okay, that's rude. Sorry. He didn't check her the way she needed to be checked because he just talked to Haley about how she was handling Ashley just last week. But whatever. Ashley goes and, Bill is just getting ready to walk out of this hospital. Okay. So then back at Uptown, we see Chelsea and Kat still chatting about the situation as Chelsea would like to know what Alison is up to. And she's wondering if she can get to her because at this point, like I said, Chelsea is convinced that Alison is out and she is the one behind these mysterious phone calls. And Chelsea is spiraling, and rightfully so, because that was super traumatic. So then Kat is telling her bestie cousin, you are safe. And basically she tells Chelsea she's going down a list of what ifs. And, I could do that too. What if Alison is still contained like we think? And what if nothing is actually going on? But, she also understands that Chelsea is just really traumatized by everything. And Kat does say if Alison is out, she will never allow her to hurt Chelsea again because she's going to have to come through Kat. A Kat matches energy, which we know because, I can't stand Kat either. But She is coming in handy in this storyline and she's being decent, so I'm going to take it. So then they basically agree to leave Uptown because this is the scene of the crime. Basically, Chelsea talks about how Uptown was where she met Alison, and that's where it all went down. So they were like, let's get out of here. So then Kat had already brought Chelsea a little shot to take to try to calm her nerves. She didn't want it at first, but she definitely took it before heading out, and they got up out of there. And so we are back at the precinct. Leslie is she's trying to reconcile with Marcel. And she's just like, just because I don't want to live on your boat doesn't mean that she wants to end things. And she wants to go back to being fun and frisky. And then Marcel said if he wanted to be treated like crap, he would have stayed with his ex-wife. I know that's right. And we never saw this ex-wife either. And she's friends with Darlene. I want to see this wife one day, but let's get back to it. So then Marcel tells Leslie that he is a simple man who likes simple things. And, you know, he feels like he's already the best version of himself because Leslie was like, what's so wrong with me wanting to encourage you to be the best version of you? And Marcel was like, according to who? Like, girl, that man is 60 plus years old. He ain't changing nothing. Okay? He didn't even want to work it out with his wife over a boat. What makes you think otherwise? But okay, let's go down this journey. So then they keep talking, and Leslie offers to beg this man for his forgiveness. Okay, and that perks up Marcel's ears with his. I can't. So then she basically offers to beg him, but not fair, and he can follow her if he would like to get what he wants. And she gets up and she walks away, and Marcel's eyes started looking at her hind parts, and he quickly followed her out that door as Jacob looked on in disgust with the rest of them. Yes, that was so funny. I'm like, that man does not. And don't you want to see the wife too? I mean, it's yes, I agree, and I want to see this wife. I want to see what he left for Leslie. But yes, Marcel, if he ain't nothing else, he is a good time to watch. He cracks me up. Now, also, let's pause real quick. Do you think he is still just solely dating Leslie to get information on her? Or, I mean, at this point, I feel like they go together. And I feel like he is no longer interested in nailing her to the cross or anything else as it pertains to the many crimes that Leslie has committed thus far. But I am here for a villain. I absolutely love it. And I'm not mad at their little weird connection. And I want to see where it goes. Let me know what you think in the chat. Sensational 60s, okay? Because I'm just like, is he still after her or what? But let's just keep it pushing. I gotta find my notes. Okay, so then we are still at the hospital. Ashley is warning Bill to follow these orders, and he shouldn't be lifting anything more than 10 pounds over the week. And she tells him that he needs to do outpatient cardiac rehab treatment because Dr. Wilkes explicitly said that Bill needs this. Now, you know Bill does not want to set foot up in this hospital not one more time. He automatically said no. And Bill is getting on my nerves. I'm almost like, Haley, just kill him. He doesn't listen. And I'm tired of this. Like, he is too educated, too prominent to be this dumb. But whatever. So once Ashley lays down the recovery plan, Bill is not for it, and Haley, of course, co-signs and adds sauce to this, putting a battery in his back. Who do they think they are? You don't need to know how to exercise. You don't need to come back here. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep you out of this hospital. Yeah, by offing you, Bill, you big dummy. But yes, okay, that's basically what happens there. And Bill is ready to be discharged. So then we are back at Bill's office. Naomi and Dani continue to talk about how they react if Ashley was fired. And then Ashley is calling Naomi and she's like, "Ooh, I was just talking about you to my mom." And so Ashley lets them know that Bill has been discharged, but she is concerned if he will be able to take care of himself at home. Because you know what? Ashley is a real one. I know she annoys some of the people, but she's a good friend at the end of the day. And I feel like that type of loyalty is very important. So Ashley is good in that regard. And so Naomi decides to pop by, Bill's house just to see him for herself. And she asked Dani if she wants to come, and Dani's being a good girl this time. She was like, no, but just tell Bill I'm happy he's doing well, and that's it. Because Dani has been fighting with this guilt and whatnot. One, she totally slept with Bill during that tornado in the country club when they were trapped in that elevator, and she has been keeping this secret from Andre ever since. So this girl is spiraling behind the scenes. She is also fully fighting her clear feelings for Bill. I know they're gonna get back together. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Okay. So, yes, Dani declines Naomi's offer to accompany her to Bill's house. She's like, I don't want to get into it with Haley again, and she just needs to stay away, basically. She doesn't say that, but that's the energy. So then we go back to Anita and Vernon, and they are, of course, talking about the Bill and Dani of it all. Anita is not here for it, and neither is Vernon. And they're also talking about Naomi. Vernon still thinks that Bill might be trying to indirectly coerce Naomi into taking over this business and this and that, which I'm like, it's not a bad thing. That's her daddy. This is his legacy. I can understand him wanting that, but Vernon is concerned. Anita, of course, is concerned. And she's just hoping that Naomi does not want all of the things that come along with Bill's law firm, and that she will continue on the path that she is in. And Vernon's just like, or on, I should say. And Vernon thinks that, she might change her mind. Okay. So back to Chelsea and Kat. After they leave Uptown, they go to the hospital because Chelsea wants to visit Madison because she's basically spiraling out. And Kat accompanies her, and she tells her she's not going to leave her until she safely hands her off to somebody else because they don't want anything to happen like last year, and they're all on edge. So then Madison comes out and she's like, "Oh, did you come to see your dad? He's just discharged." And Chelsea says, "No, I'm actually here to see you because I am not okay." And Madison comforts her, and Kat goes on about her way once Chelsea is safely handed off to Madison. And then Chelsea starts telling her about the phone calls she's been getting and how she can feel in her gut that it's only the beginning, and it's Alison's way of messing with her. And so she just asks if she could sit with Madison a little longer because she feels more grounded when she's with her. And Madison's like, of course. At first I thought Madison was going to be up to something. It was like too good to be true how well they got along and how everything just clicked immediately. But 1 year later, and it looks like they're still going strong. So Chelsea is finally in a good relationship and using her brain, and I like that for her. So Next, we see Naomi calling Jacob. She's like packing up, ready to leave Bill's office and go on about her way. Dani's already gone. So she is telling Jacob that Bill has gotten discharged and she's going to go check in on him. And Jacob tells her, don't stay too long because he has plans for them and clothing is optional. It must run in the family because she like her mama. They are too hot to trap. That Hot Pocket is always hot and ready. It's like little Caesars. They are always ready for that. But the communication aspect, whatever. I do like how Jacob loves his wife. I do like that. And they did work on better communication in lieu of just solving things with sex. So I guess they deserve this little romp. Okay. So we don't know what Jacob has planned, but clothing is optional and Naomi is ready. So next we see Bill finally walking into his house. He is so happy, and so is Haley. And she's like, oh, why don't you go take a shower and you can get ready and I'll have something for you later. And Bill is like, oh, what? You don't like the smell of my musk? Because he's been in this hospital for I don't know how many days. And apparently he hasn't been washing his parts. Apparently. And she was like, yeah, you know, I love your musk, but not with the smell of hospital. Or it's just, why are we talking about this? Whatever. So then he goes up to take his shower. And you know what Haley does? She goes over there and she starts preparing another dose of poison. Okay. She goes over there. She takes a little poison out her little bra. She pours in his gin or whiskey, whatever it is that he likes. And she doubled or tripled that dose this time. And of course, Bill still has no freaking idea. I'm so tired of him being this dumb. Moving on. Next, we see Kat at the precinct visiting Jacob, and she tells him about the weird phone calls that have been happening because Kat has been trying to calm Chelsea down about it, but Kat is like, if I'm being honest, I feel the same way. I have a sneaking suspicion this could be Alison. And so she also wonders if Alison has escaped. And Jacob's telling her that Alison is in a high security forensic psych facility and all the calls are screened. And, you know, if she was out, Chelsea would know, blah, blah, blah. But Kat is still wondering if this woman escaped. So more on that a little later. So then we are back to Leslie and Marcel. They are at Leslie's Bowman hotel room, getting freaky and frisky like they do. But then he stopped because he was like, I want you to beg. And Leslie was like, I know you don't think I'm really going to get on my hands and knees and beg you. And then she went into, for me, a little bit of, this is an inappropriate thing to say, but she started sounding like a slave or something. She was like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't want to go live on your boat and that I wasn't born a mermaid. I was like, what's all this energy about? But after a while, because Marcel is not amused by the jokes, and he's like, I'm a man with pride, and if you want me back, you're going to have to earn it. Okay, Marcel, know your worth, king. And that was enough for Leslie to have a real, genuine moment. She sits down. She genuinely apologizes to Marcel. And she talks about how she's never met a man before who's been ready to make that commitment to her. And he was like, what about your husband? And she was like, what about it? Alan just tolerated me and he really didn't want me around. But with Marcel, it is different and he makes her feel like a woman and she does not want to lose that. And so Marcel forgives her and they hit the sheets. Okay. So next we see Anita just hoping that Naomi sticks to the path that she has chosen. And Vernon agrees, and he says that Bill basically has too much influence over the Dupree's lives. Anyways, he is sick of it. But just the other day, you were offering Bill a listening ear and acting like a pseudo dad. So, Vernon, I'm going to need you to pick a lane as well and just stick to that. But moving on. So then Dani enters the estate and she's telling them that Naomi will celebrate with them and Bill is out of the hospital. And Anita's like, oh, remember what we just said about Bill having too much influence over our lives? I'm like, damn, Anita, can he just be okay? Can he be alive and well? Damn. Anyways, so then they talk about, Chelsea because they know it's the year of the kidnap thing happening and they want to make sure she's okay. And then Anita goes back to this temporary thaw that happened between Bill and Dani as a result of Chelsea being kidnapped. And Anita had hoped it was truly temporary, but she does not think that is the case anymore because Anita told Dani that last time I saw you and Bill this close was when you were married, and that concerns me because Anita is not here for the Dani Bill reconciliation. So then back at Bill's house, we see Haley wanting to celebrate because Bill's out of his shower. He's in his cute little tracksuit or whatever it was, after trot, he's ready. So she sits him down and she's just like, oh, let's toast. You want to have this drink? And Bill questions, surprisingly, if it's okay. So he learned a little something after his heart stopped these last 3 times, but I digress. So Bill is just like, is it okay? And Haley's like, yeah, I checked the papers and it said you could have some drinks sporadically and it's fine. And let's make a toast. Here's to all the health and happiness and the life you deserve. And this dummy drinks the entire glass yet again. I don't understand how he is not suspicious of Haley at this point. I am tired of them dragging this out. I want her exposed now. So like I said, he drinks the whole glass with the double, triple dose of poison. More on him later. So back at the precinct, Kat and Jacob continue to discuss everything. Jacob thinks that Alison is secured. He says, all these things are possible in terms of what Kat and Chelsea are thinking, but it's highly unlikely. He's like, there's no evidence that there have been calls from Alison or anything like that. But Jacob does offer to call the facility to see what Alison has been up to. More on that later. So then we're back at the estate. Dani tells Anita it's not like that. And Anita's like, good, but she don't believe Dani. She doesn't. And Dani just says, Bill's health scare has shown her how much more grateful she is for Andre. He's young, he's this, he's healthy, blah, blah, blah. And Vernon says, Andre treats you like a queen. And, he's the better choice, even though they have their issues at first. And I understand, because why are you married to your nephew? But okay. So then Dani just talks about how Bill just refuses to hear or see anything negative about Haley. And Vernon was like, what that got to do with you? He was like, if Haley is cheating on Bill, why is that your business? And Dani counters with, I just want to protect my friend. Okay. Anita's like, I know you want to protect your friend or whatever, but Bill has always been your Achilles heel, and Anita is just not. She like, you can think you fooling me, but you are not. I don't know who Dani thinks she's fooling, but everybody else has peeped what Dani is doing and has called her out on it. And Dani is the only one pretending that these things are not happening. But okay. So then we go back to Bill and Haley. Haley asks Bill if he wants another drink. Like, oh, you want another one? I can go get us some champagne. This and that. Like, she is ready to kill this man to death. Okay. So Bill's like, no, basically I should take it a little easy right now. I don't need that, blah, blah, blah. So then Haley starts rubbing all up on Bill, trying to seduce him. She gonna kill him one way or the other. This poison, or she gonna kill him through the exertion of sex. So Bill is kissing back, and then he gets an alert on his iPad, and he has a little smirk like he's happy, and that's just the door notification because oh wait, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Sorry. First, he wants to call Naomi and Chelsea to let them know that he's out and this and that. And so Haley tries to distract him from that a little bit. And she starts talking about how she doesn't really want to see them today because she doesn't want to deal with all of the allegations and the nonsense about her cheating. And she's like, why would I turn in a Bentley for a hoopty? And Bill was like, ooh, I'm a Bentley and this and that. And that's when she tries to seduce him and kill him through sex. But he gets an alert on his iPad because someone's at the door, and it is Naomi and Chelsea unannounced. Haley was not pleased. She was like, ugh, so much for you guys calling first, because this is what they literally just agreed to before Bill fell out and ended up hospitalized. But whatever. Chelsea and Naomi pay her dust, and so does Bill, because he is just so happy to see his girls. So Haley goes off to say she's going to start cooking him a healthy dinner, and Bill checks up on Chelsea because he didn't forget it was the anniversary, and he also tells Naomi that he has talked to Tomas and that Madison is not accepting this settlement, and Naomi is happy to hear that. And he also tells Naomi that he put Tomas in his place. And I was so glad to see it, because Tomas has lost his ever-loving mind. He acts like he doesn't know how this game works. I'm like, you better get in line like everybody else. Okay? Bill owns that firm. Naomi's his daughter. It just is what it is. If she wanted to take that firm over today, there's nothing you can do about it, Tomas. So shut up. But anyways, so Bill has gotten Tomas together. Naomi is happy to hear that, because she was like, he definitely overstepped, because Bill thinks that Tomas had good instincts and wanted to wrap this case up quicker, but he also agreed that Tomas seriously overstepped. And I appreciate Bill for checking him, and so did Naomi. So then, they're just still catching up. Bill is ready to get back to the office, and they're like, oh, you sound like yourself. And he just jokes about how he is big bad Bill Hamilton, and they are like, please stop. Now, next, we see Jacob and Kat. They are back at the precinct. He has gotten off the phone with the facility that Alison is currently housed in. She is still very much locked down with maximum security. He's going to have a guard check out her room just to make sure she doesn't have a phone or anything like that. They're going to check it thoroughly, and Jacob will let Kat know once he gets word back, just to make sure everything is clear and just to double confirm that Alison is locked down. And so Kat hugs him and thanks him for taking this seriously, because, Kat can go off on a tangent with these true crime podcasts and her Scooby-Doo mystery work. She should have just been a PI, because she stays in some legal business, always trying to solve a mystery. But whatever. So she thanks him and she hugs Jacob. And I can see why some of the people think or thought that Kat and Jacob might have something going on, but that would just be completely wrong. I hope not. So then we go back to Leslie's room. She's ordered them dinner. They were in their little robes after that first workout session. And when he took that lid off that plate and he had a freaking hot dog and French fries, I was like, I know she did not. He had that and she had shrimp cocktail. And Leslie was like, I mean, you said you were a simple man, so I figured you wanted a simple meal. He was like, yeah, not from the kids menu. Give me one of them shrimp. I know that's right, Marcel. And he took one, and that's all we saw of them. So hopefully, you know what? I don't mind them together, and I'm sure they could tear this town up. So I want to see where it goes. Now that it looks like they are being more serious with each other. Okay, y'all, we're almost there. So then Anita tells Dani, because we're back at the estate, Anita tells Dani, and if and when the scales fall off of Bill's eyes, meaning when he sees the light, then what? What you gonna do? And Dani's like, I'm gonna be there to help him pick up the pieces. And Anita's like, no, you won't. Just because you're friends doesn't mean it is your responsibility to pick up the pieces. Basically, find somebody else to do it. Okay? Because she feels like this new friendship that is developing is just going to cause issues. And Anita's right. And Dani's being delusional. So then, the end scene, we see Bill and Naomi and Chelsea just catching up. He's still talking about things. Haley is listening in the background. She is pissed about everything. So then we see Bill and Chelsea and Naomi just still shooting the breeze. And he's just like, oh, my chest. And then he falls out in the other chair. Chelsea is panicked, like, do something. Naomi's like, we don't hear it. He doesn't have a heartbeat. This was all a fantasy of Haley's. Because she was just thinking, like, man, what if he kills over right now in front of them? Which would be the worst thing for her. Because if that happens, they are definitely getting an autopsy or something, and she's cooked. But it was just a dream. We come back into real life. We see Bill happily sitting on the couch, still talking to Naomi and Chelsea. And Haley is just fuming in the hallway. And that's how it ends. So, what do y'all think is going to happen next? Because I feel like we have been dragging this poisoning thing forever. I have been ready for this to come out. I want Haley exposed more than Leslie at this point because it's been ridiculous. This family is supposed to be so prominent, so this and that, but y'all are letting this little girl run y'all like this. I am ready for that to be over. Yeah. So that was basically, let me see. You think Haley is going to slip up? I think she's going to slip up as well. I mean, she already has been slipping up, and she is not listening to Randy. And I feel like I'm going to feel a little sad if Randy goes down with this as well, which he will, and he should. But I feel like Randy's a little more redeemable than Haley. But yes, I think Haley is going to slip up as well. She's doing too much with this poison, and she's just getting reckless. So yes, that is what happened in today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for commenting. Shout out to DSensational 60s. Thank you so much. I do these live recaps every day right here, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also do the Bold and the Beautiful daily, just through some little shorts. If you guys watch that soap as well, check me out. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching again. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all of the things. And I will see you guys next time.